This is Straight Talk with Atlanta native Greg Fann, the Preacher Man, and his sidekick Shanan Jones. Frank discussions of issues affecting the ATL, Fulton County, the state of Georgia, the nation, and around the world. And now, here they are, live and in living color, the team of Jones and Fann, the Preacher Man.
Well, thank you, Brother Hal Lamar. Brother Hal Lamar does a great job of introing this Straight Talk program. Thank you, Hal. And listen, I want to just say to you, though, welcome to another edition of Straight Talk with yours truly, Greg Fann, the Preacher Man, and Shanan E. Jones. Shannon's going to join us on the other side. Believe it or not, he's in the studio today, and he's going to join us shortly. I want to just remind you that voting is November the 2nd. If you have not already voted, you cannot go to any precinct but your own precinct on Tuesday, right? Polls open bright and early, and they close late, a little late. I don't know how late that's going to be, but, you know, the news will be telling you all about it. So pay attention to what's going on, and let's vote like we've never, ever voted before. Vote for the candidate of your choice, but do make sure that you vote. And the other thing I want to say to you, we thank you so much, all of you who subscribe to this channel. Thank you so very, very much. We're on a mission. We're on a goal. We set a goal for this month to reach 100 new subscribers. We're asking you, if you would become a part of the YouTube family and subscribe to our channel, we'd appreciate it so very, very much. Program today is designed, again, with you always in mind. We'll have with us today, as I said, our new segment with Miss C, News Blast, 2-minute News Blast, and always the eloquent and most informative James Broom with Black History Fact. Now, let's go to James with Black History Fact. Then we'll hear from Miss C, and Shannon and I will be back on the other side. Don't you go nowhere. Don't you touch that dial, and share with your Facebook friends, and subscribe to our channel. Help us meet our goal this month of 100 subscribers. I'm Greg Fann, the Preacher Man, right here on Straight Talk with Black History Facts with Brother James Brooms.
This is the Reverend Frederick Lee Shuttlesworth, a civil rights activist who led the fight against segregation and other forms of racism as a minister in Birmingham, Alabama. He was co-founder of the Southern Christian Leadership Conference. He initiated and was very instrumental in the Birmingham campaign of 1963 and continued to work against racism and for alleviation of social and the systemic problems facing African Americans and the homeless. Born in Mount Meigs, Alabama, Fred Shuttlesworth became pastor of the Bethel Baptist Church in Birmingham in 1953. Fred Shuttlesworth also was the membership chairman of the Alabama State Chapter of the NAACP. Now, in 1956, the state of Alabama formally outlawed the NAACP from operating within the state. So, in retaliation, Reverend Fred Shuttlesworth, along with Ed Gardner, established the ACMHR, the Alabama Christian Movement for Human Rights. This was done in order to continue the struggle previously done by the NAACP. When the United States Supreme Court ruled that bus segregation in Birmingham was unconstitutional in December of 1956, Reverend Shuttlesworth immediately announced that the ACMHR would be challenging all the segregation laws of that city. Now, this in turn angered the white residents so much so that on December 25th, 1956, 16 sticks of dynamite were placed under his bedroom window. Now, even though his house was heavily damaged, Reverend Fred Shuttlesworth escaped unharmed. In 1957, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., Ralph David Abernathy of Montgomery, Alabama, along with Fred Shuttlesworth from Birmingham and Joseph Lowery of Mobile, T.J. Jemison of Baton Rouge, Louisiana, along with Charles K. Steele of Tallahassee, Florida, also A.L. Davis of New Orleans, and Bayard Ruskin and Ella Baker. They all got together and established the Southern Christian Leadership Conference and created its motto of Not one hair of one head of one person should be harmed. Now, Fred Shuttlesworth did embrace this philosophy, even though his own personality was combative, headstrong, and very blunt. He often disagreed with Dr. King, Ralph Abernathy, and Andrew Young on tactics and approaches. Reverend Fred Shuttlesworth was personally fearless. He understood and was willing to accept all the risks, even death, because Fred Shuttlesworth's motto was to kill segregation or be killed by it. After Reverend Shuttlesworth took up pastorage at the Revelation Baptist Church in Cincinnati, Ohio, he continued to participate in sit-ins of segregated lunch counters and took part in the organization of the Freedom Rides. He was also active in the Selma voting rights movement, which led to the Voting Rights Act of 1965. Throughout his entire life, the Reverend Fred Shuttlesworth never tired or wavered in his commitment. He had streets and foundations named in his honor, and in 2008, he was presented with the Presidential Citizens Medal by then-President Bill Clinton. He also received the Jefferson's Award for Greatest Public Service Benefiting the Disadvantaged. Also in 2008, the Birmingham, Alabama Airport Authority changed the name of its airport in his honor. The Reverend Fred Shuttlesworth died on October 5th, 2011. He was 89 years old. That's Frederick Lee Shuttlesworth. They forget all about him, but we won't.
It's been Black History Facts with Brother James Broom right here on Straight Talk. Join us each and every Friday from 7 p.m. until 8 p.m. with yours truly, Greg Fann, the Preacher Man, and Shanan E. Jones. And do share these Black History Facts with your family and friend, and do tune in to Straight Talk. Won't you? It ain't nothing but Straight Talk. On Straight Talk with 3-Minute Blast with Mrs. C. Tips for you. Tips for the ladies. Don't you go nowhere. It's Straight Talk with Miss C.
Hi, I'm Miss C. Welcome to your 3-minute news blast on Straight Talk with Greg Fann, the Preacher Man, and Shanan Jones. I'll be here each week with information that hopefully you can use. Today I have 3 tidbits of information for you. I want to tell you about the overcomers. We are overcomers of COVID. Each month we have what we call a sacred conversation. And we talk about things of relevance, things that, to give you information that you can use about being an overcomer of COVID. We are thriving, and some of us are long haulers and we're still recovering. But whatever your status, you can join us each month for a sacred conversation. Also, my second tidbit of information is for widows. I'm a widow, and I'm a part of a group called Widows Wings, and we meet each Sunday at 3 p.m. This is your chance to get things out in the open. If you want to cry, you need a listening ear, we're there for you. You can go to meetup.com and you register and you RSVP to come to the meeting on Sunday at 3 p.m. My third tidbit of information is for you to take care of yourself, okay? Go to the doctor, go to the dentist, get your COVID shot. Do whatever you need to do to keep yourself healthy. Eat right. Just whatever you need to do to stay healthy. You only get one life, okay? So take care of it. If you need any more information, please call me at 678-462-7392, 678-462-7392. The number also appears on the bottom of the screen, okay? Now join me next time on Straight Talk with Greg Fann, the Preacher Man, for your 3-minute news blast with Miss C.
Well, thank you. Boy, I tell you, that James Broom with the Black History Fact, you can't beat him in a ring.
Can't beat him. No, my goodness.
I tell you, he's spot on with that. We're going to have something next
No matter how many times I hear him, I just always learn something new.
You do. You really do.
You always do.
You really do. And next week we're going to have John Wesley Dodd. He's going to do Black History Fact on John Wesley Dodd. You need to check it.
We going to have John Wesley Dodd?
I said Black History Facts on John Wesley Dodd.
See, that's
coming from brother.
See, I don't want to deal in ageism. You just threw that out there like you just remember talking to John Wesley Dobbs like every other day.
I actually really, after listening to his spot, I feel like I really knew the man.
Yeah.
And you know, when you hear some of his Black History Facts, you feel like
he brings you in the room and brings them to life.
He brings you in the room with you. He brings you in the room with you. He makes it personal that you can feel it, you can see it, you can learn it.
Maynard Jackson's granddaddy.
Yep. Mm-hmm. But you'll know next week about Maynard's granddaddy, Mr. Dodd, Wesley Dodd, and then thank our new spotlight with Miss C. On a 3 minutes news blast.
Yeah.
Miss C. And Miss C, she shared some things. She's gonna be sharing things for the general public, for women. We got a lady on now. That's Miss C. And Miss C talked this week about grief, widows, women who have lost their husband, that group that they have formed. And use her number, call her.
Yeah.
If you're grieving, if you're having problems,
please
use that number, call.
Please.
And the COVID survivors, the group that they have with people with COVID survivors and how they're dealing with their after surviving COVID. And she said, man, just go get your health check, general health check. Please, we're getting older, things are happening. Do get your health check.
I like Miss C.
Yeah, Miss C, all right.
I like her.
Can I tell you a little story about Miss C?
Please.
Miss C and I, we used to do a program called A New Looking Gospel.
Mm-hmm.
When I was in radio, Miss C was a young lady we went to school together named Cynthia Waters. We went to school together, and Cynthia came over and did a commercial for the class of Booker T. Washington in 1969, and 68 rather. And she did a spot, and her voice was so unique and so good. I said, "You ever think about getting in radio?" And she said no. And I got her to cut a tape. I got her in the radio, got her involved in radio rather, and she became the program director of WYZ Radio 1480 back in the day when I left. And she did A New Looking Gospel with me every week. Now, some people say, let me tell you what some people say.
I'm telling you what I'm hearing right now.
Let me tell you what some
Go ahead,
people
I'm telling you what I'm
Some
hearing.
people say you might know Cynthia Waters.
No,
I'm going to tell you why they said it.
I'm afraid I'm not.
No, let me tell you why they said it. Because just like Gail told me to leave you alone.
Yeah.
That's what they used to tell me about Cynthia.
Just leave Cynthia alone.
Leave her alone.
But now, as I hear you talk about Cynthia, seem like you done fixed the story a little bit. So you heard her voice,
Right.
and you sound like you was flirting a little bit, Bishop.
Oh,
to
no,
me.
no.
No, sound like that to me.
No.
Sound like that to me.
No.
You liked her voice.
For real.
And said, have you ever been in radio?
Have you listened to her voice? I mean,
of course.
we went to school together. I mean, we went to high school together.
Yeah.
So that was no flirting in his
At Ben,
conversation.
y'all weren't allowed to do that at
No,
Benjamin.
no.
At
Washington High.
Washington High, y'all couldn't even do that. At Benjamin and Mays, we could.
Well, that
We
was y'all
could.
at Benjamin, but
Yeah.
there was no flirting in that. It was just that she had that voice. You know, some people like when I got in radio, I wasn't doing radio announcing. I didn't buy a record, but I had a radio
You had a
program.
radio, yeah. But some people have the voice.
And they just asked me, did I want to be in?
And she's got the voice.
She's got the voice.
Yeah, she's got
She
the
had
voice. Yeah.
And so we thank her for being a part of the Straight Talk team, along with Brother James Broom, and let's not forget Brother Hallamar.
Man, we got a whole news team now, and
we
me
do.
doing meteorology and all that.
Oh yeah. You did. The weather report.
Weather report. No weather to report today,
weather
except that
report.
it's raining and it's cold.
How about the traffic? You know, you do.
It's bumper to
something.
bumper. It's bumper to bumper out there. I would stay away from all expressways and highways and take alternative routes.
Well, what I want to tell you, Georgia traffic and Atlanta traffic especially has gone crazy.
Yes, it
Metro
has.
Atlanta. It is bumper to bumper. all
Ever
day,
since
every day.
ever since the Olympics, it's been
Yeah.
getting worse
Yeah,
and worse.
worse.
Is that right? Was it
Seems
around that
like-
time?
seems
Do you
like-
remember when you used to be able to remember when 85 was like a 2-lane highway?
Yeah, I remember that.
You remember when it was 1 lane, but I remember when I was born it was 2 lanes.
It was 2 lane when they created it. 285.
And you used to be able to get anywhere
It was
as long as you weren't going too far north of downtown.
Absolutely.
You could get anywhere in 15 minutes.
I remember when I-20 was built, when it ended at Hightower.
Yeah.
Which has Don Lee Holloway.
Yeah.
You know, I'm 71 years old, so
Yeah.
a lot of stuff I remember.
A lot of stuff you
A lot
remember.
of
You're
stuff
still
I remember.
young.
Yeah, I know, but you know, I'm
You're
proud to be
71.
71.
You
Just
know.
celebrated a birthday, man. Just turned 71.
Happy
You know, I'm
birthday,
happy.
Bishop.
Thank you. I didn't get my present though, but that's all right. You can cash out me, Shanan.
minute.
At
I can't have you saying I ain't give you nothing. No.
yeah, going on in there. Let me see.
That's at least
Woo-wee!
5.
Jesus, I can
That's
go
at
to,
least
I
5.
can't even go to Mickey D's with this.
That's at least.
You
Don't
can't
you
get a
go
Happy
to?
Meal with this.
I wouldn't do that. You hold on to that.
But I would say thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, that's
God bless
and
you.
more to come. More
Yeah,
to come.
more to come.
I got 5 on it.
Thank you so very much.
Okay, all
You
right.
know, before we go into our next spot with the mayor that you conducted the interview with, the mayor of Forest Park,
Mayor Angeline Butler.
before we go into, we want to encourage everyone to make sure that the last date to vote early
It's Friday the
is
29th.
Friday. Today. It was today. So you can't vote anywhere now. You must go to your respective precincts on Tuesday. And the polls
Please go.
open at 7. Vote. There's a lot of, back and forth, a lot of lies being told, a lot of deception going on, a lot of look at what the candidate has done or what the candidate is proposing to do. Look at what the candidate has done or what the candidate is proposing to do. And Shannon's going to give you a little bit about the mayor's race in Atlanta. He's going to give you a little bit about the mayor's race in Atlanta.
Well, right now we've got we're looking at
I got it.
we're looking at about
Thank you.
3
All right. Mhm.
3 major candidates that we're looking at right now. Possibly 4, right? But it seems in the recent polling we just saw that Felicia Moore was in a slight first place. It seems that Andre Dickens has come into a slight second place, and Kasim Reed has slipped down into third place. Now that's what the polling is saying, and we know that there was a commercial that Miss Moore did with an alleged Trump supporter, and she said she since gave the money back. In his comments, seemed as though she was denigrating some of the mayors of Atlanta, all of the mayors of Atlanta, and of recent. And we know the mayors of Atlanta since Maynard Jackson for the last 48 years have been African American, namely Ambassador Andrew Young, Maynard Jackson, Shirley Franklin have been those, and so.
Don't forget Bill Campbell.
Well, Bill Campbell, but basically they were talking about. We can't forget Bill Campbell, but they were talking about issues of. He was talking about issues of alleged corruption, and so, so there were those who were not under that cloud.
Right. Okay.
Certainly, the Campbell administration ended with that malaise over them, though he was a good man. But so there was some great concern there with Moore, and then Mr. Reed had a press conference with several leaders, African American leaders, to begin to combat that. And then Ms. Moore said that she felt that she should have certainly corrected him, and she gave the man his money back. So with that going on, there's been some shifting.
You have to don't forget Miss Bertha now. Don't forget Miss Bertha.
Then we've got to go with well, go ahead. You go with
Miss Bertha. Miss Darden, Bertha Darden.
Miss Darden.
She at that farm, boy. She let
a farm at Hillside Chapel and Truth Center.
Yeah. She let Kasim Reed have it. I think that YouTube is going around everywhere. If you haven't seen it, it's out there.
And it's been pretty damaging.
Oh yeah, because what she said was to Kasim Reed was, listen, Kasim tried to leave and said he had a heart.
That we had a hard stop at 7:15.
Miss Bertha was up trying to ask a question, and he said he had to go. And she begged that he did not leave until he heard her response, her question. And she went on to tell him, and he stayed. And she began to talk to him in such a way about what he had done in Peopletown when they had that flood, and how people senior citizens, were told that they were going to be able to stay in their home, and then 2 months later, they were being talked about being probably being taken over for eminent domain, and fines being levied of $200 a day if they didn't correct the errors that was going on, which was not their problem initially, and how their names have been taken off of their deeds after being there. Her husband was a 30-year retired city worker. She just laid it out there.
Yeah.
She just said, Mr. Reed, you told us that we didn't have to worry, but 2 months later they're trying to take our home, and she said that ain't right. That ain't right. So she said, so Mr. Reed, pretty much she said, well, how many more lies you gonna tell? What you gonna do? So I mean, that was damaging to him. He took that, he sat there and he took it. He didn't say anything. He took that and he took it. But when we look at the things that's going on in politics today, and I'm neither promoting Ms. Moore or Mr. Reed or Mr. Dickinson. We're not doing that on this program. We're just stating facts as we have seen them and just sharing those facts here on the program. We're not endorsing or supporting any candidates. I want to be clear.
Make that very clear.
Make that clear. We're not. We're just stating facts as the facts are out there. Okay, you have to decide for yourself. You have to decide for yourself. And Mr. Rose from the NACP, he had some facts that he had put out in regards to Mr. Reed, but we won't talk about that. But check out everything that's
since that did happen this week and that did hit the news, we should deal with the fact.
I'll let you elaborate on that.
So Mr. Richard Rose, president of the Atlanta chapter of the NAACP, did put out on NAACP letterhead his concerns and problems with Mayor Reed, and he went through a litany of things, and I'm not going to tell you, it's been in the news, but he went through a litany of things that he felt that Mayor Reed was complicit in, as well as issues with the Atlanta police, with the police union supporting the Atlanta Police Department, and he likened them to the KKK, and then the union was returning the fact that they did have some African Americans that were on the board there. So the president, the national president, the CEO of the NAACP, just weighed in on it. I don't want to say he sanctioned President Rose in any way, but he did weigh in on it and cautioned Mr. Rose and caused Mr. Richard Rose to come back and say that he stands by his statement as a lifelong leader in this community, an activist in this community, and one who has spoken up for the voiceless, the least, the lost, the left behind, left out in this community. He's been doing that his entire adult life and professional life. So he said that perhaps he should have done that on his own personal letterhead and not on the NAACP. He also said that he spoke with his board and members of the national board before he released that. And just a little shock, there was an outcry of people that came to support Mr. Rose, and they wanted to know why the national president was sticking his nose in a local NAACP issue, since boots on the ground, and Mr. Rose is one of those who's leading those boots on the ground in Atlanta. So a bit of touch of a lot of stuff happening in the political gumbo of Atlanta right now. It's very interesting, and so Tuesday, if you didn't vote by now, come Tuesday, you got to remember that our ballot is not just a ballot; it's a blood-stained ballot. You got to remember that. I can't understand black folk that say I don't vote. I vote for deacon, dog catcher. It don't matter who it is, because I know what we had to go through to get that vote. Yeah. You didn't have to walk. You listen to Otis Moss Jr. tell the story of his father, who was a widower, left with all of his children, got up early in the morning before daylight and took his shower, cleaned himself up, put on his brand new suit, his good suit, his white shirt, tie, shined his shoes, and had to walk many miles. I think it was some almost 15 miles or more to go to vote. When he got there to the place that they told him to vote, they saw the color of his skin, and they said, no, you need to go back to your community to vote. And so he turned around and walked another, let's say 15 miles back. It might have been more than that. Excuse me, Reverend Moss, if it's more than that, but you get the point. And he walked back there. Then they told him that he needed to go over to another place. And he walked some 5 or 10 miles to the next place, all to vote. And by the time he had finished that, and they were trying to send him back to his place again, the polls were closed. It was dark. And he came back and took his family and held them in his arms, and he cried because he tried to go exercise the right to vote for them, for his children. And you driving in a Mercedes and a BMW or whatever you driving in, a Jeep Cherokee, whatever you driving in, you can do 20 miles in 15 minutes. And this man walked all day. And that's the story of many people that had to walk to blisters on their feet. Some walk with no shoes, with holes in their shoes to go and vote. And we sitting up there, I don't think I'm going to vote. I don't. Black folk, whenever there's an election, if they voting for whether the store is going to be called Piggly Wiggly or Winn-Dixie, you go vote, because it is for us a right that was denied us so many times. And so it's a shame to see where we are right now with this early election. It's particularly coming off of the election that we just had. And if we keep on playing around with these elections, we're going to be picking cotton again.
Well, I wanted to conclude by saying this, that I was saying earlier when we stopped, we're talking about the Bible, and I taught in a Bible study in the book of Acts. And I've read Acts 1 many, many times. But something happened last night when I was teaching. And I looked in the book of Acts around verse 21, when Jesus had gone off to sing, as Martin Luther King and others have gone off to sing. Jesus had gone off to sing, but he left with them the promise of the Father, was the Holy Ghost. And Peter began to talk about what they had gone through with Judas and Jesus. And Peter called for a prayer meeting with Mary and the mother of Jesus and the apostles and 120 more believers to come together. Let's pray. And they did. And after the prayer meeting, they held a business meeting. And in that business meeting, they had to figure out who was going to replace Judas. Mm-hmm. People say, well, you know, church and politics don't mix. Well, brothers and sisters, this was a business meeting. And in that business meeting, to select the next apostle who was going to be a part of the ministry, the work that Jesus had started and left, they came up with qualifications. When people run for office, they got to be qualified. You either have to lay up there a year, 21 years old. That's a qualification. That's the qualification. Their qualification was to choose the person that would be selected to choose Judas, the betrayer. And they said they needed someone who had been with Jesus from the beginning, from the baptism of John until his crucifixion. And you had to have done that to even be considered by the other 11 to be voted on. Well, they found 2 that were qualified. And those 2 was voted on. And Matthias won the vote. And he became the replacement for Judas. Politics is in everything, every facet of our life. So stop talking about, I don't want to be involved in politics. When you choose where you're going to go out to a restaurant with your significant others or whatever, you're making a political decision. Where you choose to shop or buy things, you're making a political decision. You are. So politics is in every facet of our life. I thank you, Shanan, for that, but I just want to share that from a biblical perspective. Stop talking about you don't vote. You vote every day. You vote every day. You voting on something every day. Now, why not get up where you are and go to the polls and vote on Tuesday? Not just Atlanta election. All cities, local cities, are having races for either city councilman and mayor or city council. Know who the candidates are, but vote, vote, vote. And on that note, we're going to go and they'll talk about the mayor of Forest Park.
Didn't they vote on Jesus and Barabbas too?
They did. They voted on Jesus and Barabbas. Thank you so much. They did clarify. Yeah, because they said let Barabbas go free and crucify Jesus. That was a vote. That was a vote.
Political vote.
Political vote.
Yeah.
That was a vote. So listen. We're going to listen now with an interview conducted by yours truly. I mean, not yours truly, but
mine truly.
Yeah, his truly. Shanan E. Jones with the mayor of Forest Park. And we'll be back on the other side to conclude today's program. Hope you're enjoying it today. And don't forget to do what? Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Those of you who have subscribed, we appreciate you. Tell your neighbor, tell your friend, and you tell your next of kin to check out Straight Talk each week, won't you? We'll be right back.
A little hip hop.
With yours truly, Shanan E. Jones, and Mrs. Angeline Butler, the mayor of Forest Park, Georgia. All right, we're here today with the mayor of Forest Park, Georgia, Mayor Angeline Butler, who is the mayor of the great city of Forest Park that we hear nothing about. And we want to find out what's going on in that city. So Shannon's going to talk to the mayor today and find out what's going on in Forest Park. What's going on down there?
Absolutely, Madam Mayor. As you know, bad news travels fast. I know y'all doing some great things, but I've been a pastor long enough to know, and a leader long enough to know, that it's not until you fail that people began to proliferate your failure. But when you're successful, they just sit back waiting on you. I know in a minute, Madam Mayor's going to fail. I know in a minute. So you tell us the good things that's happening there in the city of Forest Park, Georgia.
Yes, excellent. So first, I want to thank you for this amazing opportunity. And on behalf of the governing body and north of 19,000 residents of the great city of Forest Park, I bring greetings to you all. And let me just say that it is a travesty that you have not heard of all the great things that are going on in our city. But I'm not surprised. One of the things that I was intentional with when assuming office was to reintroduce Forest Park to those that may have had a bad experience in the past and introduce Forest Park to those who are unfamiliar. And so that has been a fun process doing. But in that, when I assumed office, I inherited a debt, a $15 million debt to be exact, with no plan of action on how to repay that. The only thing that I knew is that increasing taxes on our residents was not an option. So as a result, I was able to coalesce a team of visionaries, and then being a sagacious mayor as I am, we set out a course. You plan and you execute has been my motto. And part of that has been progress. And for some, when you hear the word progress, you envision onward momentum. But for me, progress is an acronym. And that stands for political restoration, opportunity and growth, for residential, economic, and social success. Now, you can speak on each pillar independently, but progress is truly achieved when they all operate in unison. So, political restoration. Over the past administrations, Forest Park had been plagued with leadership that were not truly qualified enough to hold these key positions in our city. So as a result, myself and a couple other council members, we were very adamant and intentional about bringing leadership to our city who are character driven, competent, and truly qualified to work on behalf of our residents. So we have a new executive leadership team that I am thrilled to have on board. And in that, we have our first African American and female fire chief, Chief Latasha Clemens. We have the city's first ever, in over 100 years, first ever economic development director. And that is a testament to all of the opportunities that are coming to our city. And then we have the city's first ever public information officer. And that position is particularly important because, as you stated, people don't always hear all of the good things that are going on. And bad news truly does travel fast. And then you have those that want to misinform people. And I tend to believe those people are ill informed or uninformed. And they can twist our narrative or just not paint us in the light in which we are truly held in. And so this public information officer, Mr. Javon Lloyd, he actually started yesterday, is going to do just that. He's going to spread and tell our narrative in our voice. So this is going to be our gospel. And if you don't hear it from us, then consider the source. So there's that. The opportunities and growth for residential success is truly unprecedented, and we're fertile ground for that. We have a townhome development community that's coming that's going to overlook the gem of our city, Star Park. That community it will be 3 stories. It will have an elevator and a rooftop deck. It's top of the line. It's amazing. We have a senior apartment complex coming. It's a 60-unit complex that will have a medical facility component, as well as a fitness center and other pertinent amenities that our senior or seasoned residents will truly love and appreciate. Also, I know that Forest Park, we do have an antiquated, housing stock, and it needs a hug. Right? So we have been intentional in fostering a relationship with the Housing Authority of Clayton County, and they have a hug program. And so anyone who knows me knows how much I love an acronym. So hug is an acronym for the Housing Urgency Grant. And that program offers 2 key benefits. First, it will assist in taking blighted homes, and transitioning them to taxable revenue for the city. And second, it can offer a grant of up to $7,000 for qualified homeowners to assist with vital repairs to their homes that will not only increase their home values, and home values have increased in Forest Park over the last 4 years, but it will also help to restore and beautify their block and then subsequently the city. So that's residential opportunity. Now, economic development, now that I am so proud of. So not only did I inherit the $15 million debt that we had to pay off in 4 years, we did so, and it's been amazing. But not only that, we were able to turn that debt into a surplus. So in 2022, we're going to have an increase of about $2 million in our general fund. 2025, I believe it increased.
Madam Mayor, you broke up a little bit. Go back and say what will be in the general fund.
So I am thrilled to announce that in our general fund, because of all of the economic activity going on at Fort Gillem, our general fund is going to increase by approximately $2 million in the year 2022. And in the year 2025, between $4 and $6 million. But over the next 20 years, we will have an increase of $67 million that this administration has been able to bring in just 4 years. And that is with all the opposition that I have faced. Now, you want to talk about determination and sagacity. If that's not the definition of it, I don't know what is. But I'm not done. I am not done.
I'm starting to think this is why I'm starting to think this is why we haven't heard a whole lot about. I think there's just too much positivity for folks, and a tinge of jealousy, of maybe from some other municipalities. Just a tinge of jealousy. Listen, I'm a native. Atlantan. I'm 47 years old. This other native Atlantan is 70. See, I wasn't gonna tell it all. 70 was enough. 71 years old. Grady baby. When Grady was Grady. Okay. so I remember coming to Forest Park, and my father had a heavy foot. But when he hit Forest Park, he would be doing about 35 and a 45. Because you didn't want to get in any trouble in Forest Park, because you already had a skin tone in Forest Park that caused you to stand out a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm looking at you. I'm listening to the success and the progress of Forest Park, but I want to know, Harpo, who these people? When did this happen in Forest Park? Because I got to tell Daddy he can at least do the speed limit in Forest Park now. When did this change come about where we see a Madam Mayor, a Steel Magnolia, a Black Butterfly leading in such a strong way there in Forest Park? When did this change begin to occur? Because it certainly wasn't there 20, 30 years ago.
Well, I have had the honor. I've had the honor to serve in this position 4 years, and as the first person of color to hold this seat, that is prestigious and a huge honor in its own right. But it has always been my standard to represent Forest Park with the respect and dignity that it deserves. And I understood in running for this position initially that that's what the city had been lacking all these decades. Now, you brought up the speeding, and so I'm going to just talk about our police department right now. And so we have had that stigma for a very long time. Now I can't say too much because there's still ongoing litigation with our police department.
That's fine.
But bold changes needed to be made. And anytime you have a new administration, change is going to come.
Mm-hmm.
And you have people that want change, but they do not always want to change.
Mm-hmm.
The person who brings the change gets a lot of the backlash. So while we made the bold change in terminating the employment of our old police chief, we have a new police chief, Nathaniel Clark, who is doing amazing things. His community-based policing has been a major success, as much as that crime is at a 2-year decline, which is great. Our traffic violations, our citations, are not as abundant as they once were. I'll just say that. But being a woman of color, being of a particular age, I'm only 41, and I will say I am not from the state of Georgia. I am from the state of Washington. So people view me as an outsider. And depending on the fence you're on, you may think that's good because I come with fresh vision, fresh ideas, and then some kind of take that as, well, who is this person coming from wherever she came from and thinks she's going to come run our city? Well, I'm here to stay. I don't plan on going anywhere. But being of color, I find that I have to deal with people of non-color and their perception of Black women, women in leadership, and then myself being a millennial. And then I have people that look just like me and their perception of how I should look, speak, and behave. And I don't fit in the mold of any of those ideas or stereotypes. And that has been a challenge. It's been more of a heartache for me when I have to challenge my own people as to why they think I need to genuflect and not use certain words, or I have to yell to get my point across when that's not who I am. And I don't feel you have to be that way to lead and successfully lead a city. And I think I've done an excellent job of showing
Yes.
what a different type of leadership can look like.
Absolutely, absolutely, and I just want to clarify, because I know what you meant, but you said that you were not from the state of Georgia, but are you from the state of Washington or the city of DC? Are you from the District of DC?
The state of Washington.
You're from the state of Washington. Okay, all right. Let me ask you this final question, and then we're going to get out of your hair because we see folk busting in your office. I can't tell if I'm talking to Kamala Harris or Queen Nefertiti or Queen Elizabeth or who it is. It's just you're busy, Mayor. You're busy. But I want to ask you this. When you have left, there was a saying once of Bill Russell. Well, you know what? I'm not going to go into that. That's going to take too long. We got to wrap up. When you have left your office, whenever your term limit has calls for that day, because I think you'll be reelected, because I could see you're very progressive. On your final day, when you've left, what do you want people to say about Mayor Butler's administration? And when you've walked out of this office, why will it have mattered that you were ever there?
In order for there to be a second, there had to be a first. I feel like I'm leaving some pretty big shoes to fill, and quite honestly, I have my daddy's feet and I wear a size 11. So figuratively and literally, whoever comes behind me is gonna have big shoes to fill.
I love it.
Yes, but I want people to understand that Operation Progress, it was not just a campaign slogan, that it truly was a movement, and that having a vision is key to leadership, and that serving with integrity and leading with dignity should not be a goal, it should be a standard we all aspire to. And no matter the challenges, no matter the ridicule, the mocking, or the judgment that I face, and I have faced my share of it, I've always maintained my integrity. And you can't, it is possible to restore the moral dignity, compass, and fabric to government, and it trusts with leadership.
All right.
Well, thank you so very, very much, Madam Mayor. We thank you for just being who you are and for what you do and what you've been doing for the citizens of Forest Park, Georgia. And thank this young man. Well, he's not a young man. He's a middle-aged man. He's even a millennial. He can't even claim that.
No. I'm Gen X, whatever that is, the unknown generation.
But thank you so very much, and we wish you success on your re-election bid, okay, to another 4-year term. Thank you, and God bless you, and God bless Forest Park, Georgia.
Thank you both, and I look forward to coming back. Thank you.
We look forward to you coming back, Mayor. Bye-bye.
Well, thank you so much again for joining Straight Talk. Great interview, Shanan. Good job talking to the mayor. She's doing an excellent job. Thank her and the council members that are working together. We don't hear any negativity, any fussing. And
whole lot of positivity.
There's a lot of positive, a lot of things that's good coming out of Forest Park.
$60+ million.
Woo. Woo. And she's a millennial.
She's a millennial.
Mm-hmm. From Washington, the
state of Washington. Way across.
Woo, way up yonder.
Yeah.
Way up. I mean, way up.
Way. Yeah.
Well, we thank you again so much for watching Straight Talk. Do tune in next week with yours truly, Greg Fann, the Preacher Man, and my co-host here, Shanan E. Jones. Maybe he'll be here with us because you can't tell about Shanan.
Never know.
Always been a weather report, walking the dog.
Never know. You never know. You never know. The dog. That's not the dog. Is the weather sensor. That's not walking the dog. He lets me know when the
Oh, Shannon,
storm is coming.
We got to talk about
What?
before we go. Clergy with the calendar is coming soon to your place. On the 18th, we're going to be at Pastor's Meets Church on McDaniel Street. And pastors in that area, we want you to join us on the 18th. But we'll tell you more about it. We want to feed some people. We want to make sure people bring in families of victims of violence. We want to bring them in and talk with them.
Pray with
have
them.
prayer. And just believe God, for God will change the thing that's going on in
COVID testing
our world and COVID testing.
and COVID vaccines, if we can get that worked out.
Right. So don't just keep your ears open and listen to Straight Talk with yours truly again, Greg Fann, the Preacher Man, and Shanan E. Jones. And this ain't been nothing but you need to subscribe. Straight
Talk.
Want to be a guest on Straight Talk? Email Greg Fann at FANN922 at Comcast.net or call 404-308-0795. Join us again for another episode of Straight Talk with Shanan Jones and Greg Fann, the Preacher Man.